Thank you very much for joining us. You were out there in the parade as well.
Okay.
Very moving, right?
Achen. Yes.
First of all, one question about the war. You know, where do we stand at this stage? The world is pressing, including the United States. We're hearing the reports of a deal, a deal which may include the release of terrorists and the withdrawal of forces from Gaza.
So where are we standing in the war? First of all, I really want to thank Sheva for commemorating Commander Itzhak Hoffman and bringing his family. I think that it puts us in the right proportions about the heavy prices that we are paying as a society, and obviously the heaviest of heaviest prices for the families. The loss of the potential of life is very difficult for all of us. But as Leah said, Am Yisrael Chai, and we don't have any other choice but to continue the war and to annihilate Hamas. There is no option to stop. There is no option to accept a ceasefire while Hamas is still in power. There is no option to surrender. And yes, we need. I think that this kind of calls that we had here last year is part of the weakness that invited our enemies and encouraged them. Wrong message. And therefore, and I don't think that we need to mix in between the different goals. There is tension, but these are goals that can live together. Yes, we need to bring them all back home. Yes, this is a moral obligation that we have as a Jewish people and as a sovereign state. These are people who were in a party, who were at their home, not soldiers that it might happen still, even a soldier, you need to bring him back. But al achat kama vekama, when it comes to innocent civilians. So I totally agree about the message of bringing them all back home.
Will you oppose this deal? Will you oppose this deal?
But we must look to our children, to the future generation, and there are certain conditions that we cannot accept. Ending the war when Hamas is a functioning military and political organization is a no-go. We cannot do it.
So according to
we must not do it.
So if the deal is what we're seeing in the reports, you'll oppose the deal?
This is a war, and in this war, the primary goal is to win and defeat Hamas. The primary goal is to win and defeat Hamas. This is for the sake of future generations. Because if we will blink, and if the victory will not be clear, we will invite more events like October 7, and more hostages, and more suffer. We need to be tough as a nation, tougher than Sinwar, tougher than Muhammad Def, tougher than Nasrallah. We need to be now solid as a rock.
Even if Biden is pressuring?
No surrender. Not to American pressure, not to anything. Anything. This is the life of our children and grandchildren that is at stake. This is not about us. This is about the future of the Jewish people. Nekuda.
So you say, even if there's a deal on the table, you know the pressures that are going to be now in Israel and around the world.
The current deal, as far as I get it, speaks that Hamas will give, we don't know if live hostages or dead hostages or how many hostages, and we need to stop the war for 6 weeks and then to withdraw in order to bring the other people. This is not a deal. This is a joke. This is the joke. in the faces of the casualties, of the victims. I look at war from the perspective of history. We saw greater power than Hamas surrendering. We saw Nazi Germany surrender. We saw Japan, Caesar Japan surrender. We saw the PLO fleeing from Lebanon in 1982. We can bring Hamas down on their knees. That is our goal, and we need to make sure we have a clear victory. And Sinewar is dead, and Def is dead, and also the leaders in the jacuzzis in Doha.
Okay. Now you're the Minister of Diaspora Affairs and the Minister of Combating Anti-Semitism. During this period, is there any way to change the direction, or maybe we just have to, keep our heads down until it passes?
I see a huge opportunity in this specific era. First and foremost, looking at the polls, we see a clear support, and I'm speaking about Harvard-Harris polls, not polls were made by organizations with a certain agenda. We see positive opinion of the public in the US. I think that in one of the research, there was a question about Rafah, and 72% of the American people said that they are supporting a ground operation in Rafah. And the vast majority supports the war against Hamas and favors the state of Israel on top of Hamas. Yes, we have a challenge when it comes to the younger generation, especially in US campuses. Yes, it is a serious challenge. When you go down in the ages, the support toward Israel is weaker. So looking at the future, we do have a challenge, but we also have an opportunity. And what is the opportunity? Now everything is on the table. We saw that it's not just the Israeli flag that is being removed, and it's not just the call from the river to the sea, in which most of the students have no idea about what river and what sea are we talking. But you see the American flag brought down once again and again and again. And the people here, they get it. It's not just against the state of Israel. It is against America. It is against American values. It is against Western civilization. It is against Judeo-Christian civilization. This story is far bigger than the fight of Israel and Hamas. This is the fight of the free world, of Western civilization, against imperialist, jihadist motivations, and also the woke, radical, progressive, neo-Marxist, imperialist vision. And they are working together. And we know this alliance also from 1979 in Iran. They were working together. Communists and the radical who were supporting the Ayatollah. So we call this alliance the Green and Red Alliance. I think that this alliance is now on the table. It's clear. People can get it, can see it. And we need to make more effort on the younger generation, and first and foremost, the Jewish younger generation. And I think that here we have a second opportunity. You cannot escape Jewish identity in 2024 in America. If you will escape, it will chase you. Wow. And you need to give yourself answers. And we are seeing many, many students who are now asking themselves, what does it mean to be a Jew? What does it mean to be a Zionist? We want to know more. We want to learn more. We want to fight back. And I am proud of the Jewish students in America. And I think that we are seeing a movement. And we are seeing more vibrant and new forces of young Jews all across the world, especially here in America. And I'm optimistic about it.
So these Jews deserve an applause, no?
Absolutely.
Okay, Minister of Diaspora Affairs, just I want to ask you a last quick question. You know, we want the Jews to come home to Israel, Aliyah, but we also have to strengthen the communities. As Diaspora Affairs, how do we balance between those two values?
If you can repeat, please.
We want people, the Jews, to come home, but we also need to strengthen diaspora. How do we balance between those two values?
So look, as Zionists, we believe in the words of the Siddur. את שיבת ציון היינו כחולמים. Period. ארץ ישראל is ארץ ישראל. We have one home as a Jewish people. But we don't decide for anyone where to live. You want to live in New York? בהצלחה. You want to live in Miami? בהצלחה. We don't judge, and it's not our role to judge anyone. So we need to make an effort to strengthen Jewish education, Jewish communities, wherever they are, in Madrid, in Mexico, or in Miami. And at the same time, to encourage every Jew who want to come and make Aliyah, to encourage him to come to Eretz Israel. We don't need to be shy about supporting the Siddur, about supporting the Zionist movement. And I think that it was a mistake in the past 2 decades to say, okay, we're not speaking about Aliyah anymore because it's not politically correct. I think Aliyah is perfectly correct. But also, we're not judgmental about people who choose to live anywhere else.
Not judgmental and strengthening the communities. Okay, Minister of Diaspora Affairs and Minister of Combating Anti-Semitism, Amichai Shikli, thank you very much and good luck.
Thanks so much, Yoni. תודה רבה לכולם.